Welcome back inside our Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center. I'm Jessica Coody, and you've probably heard me talking a little bit about the Title IX celebration, the year-long celebration we are doing here at Nebraska Athletics. A lot of cool events and fun things we're working on to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the passage of Title IX. So over the next year, we got a lot of cool things in store, and we actually have a big announcement on an event today for you. And here to talk to me a little bit about that is Kate Dean, the Assistant Director of Community and Charitable Relations. Kate has been a big part of the committee that's helping put all of this together. So Kate, thanks for spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me, Jess.
Okay, well, before we get into all of that, just tell Husker fans and listeners what your role is and what your job is and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so a brief background on me. I started working in athletics as a student here at UNL in 2018. I worked in our communications department for 3 years, and so then in 2021 when I graduated from UNL, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something that involved people, public relations, something external. And lucky for me, that happened to be in athletics. So last September, I started working in community relations, and I've been doing that for about a year now. So like you said, I am our Assistant Director of Community and Charitable Relations, and a lot of the work I do is with nonprofit organizations, government agencies, military groups, but the biggest group I would say that I work with is Husker fans. So I think that's just, I'm so honored to be able to do that every day as a Husker fan myself. It's a really great opportunity, and yeah, I love my job.
I was going to say, growing up in Lincoln, you had no choice, right, but to be a Husker fan?
No, it's all I've known, so I fit the bill well.
And you do so much work behind the scenes. I mean, you're constantly setting stuff up for everybody. Coaches go do an event. A lot of times it's you that's helping set that up. So, and just the reach that you are able to have and even the staff and some of the coaches to be able to go speak to some of these groups, and you mentioned the nonprofit organizations, it's got to be really rewarding to be able to kind of bridge those gaps and be the liaison between and setting those things up.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of how I explain my position as the liaison between athletics and the broader Husker community. And I've realized just how big it is. Like, I've worked with groups, like a lot of times I'm working with soldiers who are stationed overseas, and I just got a message from one in Poland who wants to go to the game in Ireland.
Wow.
Stuff like that. And then just nonprofits from across the country who want an autographed poster from one of our coaches. So you really see the reach that we have across the country and across the world. And yeah, like you said, the direct impact that I get to see working with our fans, working with someone who's never been to a Husker football game and just wants to see, the team play for the first time and getting to see their reaction. It's so rewarding, and yeah, it's a great gig.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's talk a little Title IX, and you've been on the committee from the start, and I know it's been going on for a long time. So kind of take us back to the beginning of the Title IX talks and how it kind of came about of what Nebraska Athletics wanted to do.
Yeah, so we decided internally that we needed to come up with something. 50 years is a huge milestone, and Nebraska's, we're always known for doing a little more, I would say. So we got together in the early stages and just kind of brainstorming and throwing out ideas. I know you're working on a lot of content. I was tasked early on with coming up with kind of the history of Title IX, working on the website. And then as it's progressed, we've talked more and more about how we can involve the community. And I think that's kind of where I come in, is how can we get more and more people involved in this effort, because it's so important to, incorporate people from all backgrounds in order to, increase the longevity of Title IX, because it requires everyone. It's not just something that can be stagnant and we can just sit there and expect Title IX to last forever. We have to include male athletes, youth athletes and coaches, university leadership, elected officials. Like, it takes everyone. So that's kind of been my role on this committee, and we're looking forward to creating those events for our fans and for everyone in the community as well.
You guys have been meeting for a while. I've been to a couple of them, but a lot of times the discussion turns to some of the former student athletes or former women that are around Nebraska and who we want to make sure that we honor during this time. And it's really been, I've learned a lot, the couple times that I've been to. So is there a story or an athlete, a former athlete, or somebody that you really have learned about and been inspired by hearing about their history?
Oh, definitely. So like I kind of mentioned, I was working on the history and timeline for Title IX, and I learned a lot about Louise Pound. She was an absolute stud back in the late 19th century. She grew up in Lincoln, went to the University of Nebraska, and was a golfer, a tennis player. She won like a boys championship in tennis, coached the basketball team, which was one of the first teams to travel and compete. And she is just like, before any of this was even a conversation about women being even on an equal playing field as men, she was kind of doing it on her own. And she was also just such an intelligent woman. Like, she was a professor, studied in Germany, I believe, just a very diverse, educational leader. And yeah, to see it go all the way back from her over 100 years ago
Right.
to where we are now, it's truly amazing.
It's so cool. Yeah. I mean, just the names that have come up, there are definitely some really awesome women that have helped pave the way for sports. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things we've got coming up. We have some games with some sports, but the big event that we wanted to announce today that I know you've been working really, really hard on, tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's called the More is Possible Rally, and it's going to be on October 8th at Bolin Stadium ahead of our Big Red Fall Classic for our softball team. So we invite everyone to come out to the stadium beforehand, and we're going to have tents set up. Hopefully each of our women's athletics teams will have a booth, and you can meet their student athletes, play games with them, win prizes, just kind of interact with the student athletes, learn more about how Title IX has impacted them in their programs, and then have food, drinks, hang out, play some games, and then go enjoy the softball game at 3 o'clock.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and also a chance to celebrate the success of our softball program.
Absolutely, which coming off a Big Ten title season and being able to watch them, it should be good weather too. It was last year during that time.
Hopefully it doesn't rain.
Tell us a little bit about some of the other events that you guys, the committee's working on.
Yeah, so like you kind of mentioned, a lot of those trailblazer, those characters that we've kind of been discussing in our meetings, we're going to bring, at each of our home football games, we're going to bring one of those women back to the stadium to kind of feature them and honor them at our games on the biggest platform that we have at a football game. So those will be announced the week leading up to each football game, and they'll have a little bit of a feature story in the program. So we're looking forward to that as well. And then each team will have a game dedicated to Title IX. So our volleyball program, I know, is already in the works of bringing back some former players and featuring them and just commemorating their efforts and their success. So each sporting event, each sports team will have a game dedicated to honoring Title IX.
Yeah, and again, those dates will release all those moving forward as they're still kind of working out the details, because it's a lot of moving parts to get some of those former players back, and they want to do all the honoring of some of those players. Like, I know for women's basketball, they're working on bringing back the very first team that ever played here. And so, we'll have all those details moving forward. I should have asked you this at the beginning, but the more is possible is the theme around all of the celebration. And I know that's part of the features that are going on the big screen and all of that. So can you walk us through that and the slogan for this and why you guys settled on more is possible?
Yeah, so Adidas is actually the genesis of the More is Possible, and we also have t-shirts that say More is Possible with the 37 words of Title IX on the back of them. And I think the More is Possible to me and for Adidas is just putting out there that women have been competing in athletics for 50 years now at the collegiate level, but there's so much more that can be done, and there's so much room for women to grow athletically and as humans just in the world. So I think that's just leaving the open-ended more is possible. Like, we want to inspire young women to know that, more is possible for you, and you can come compete at Nebraska, and you can go play college athletics and go on. If you don't want to be an athlete, you can do anything with your life. So more is possible. We decided on it just because it's an all-encompassing term, and we think it's going to really inspire a lot of young women to come out, and men, to come out and attend our event.
I love that. I love that. Are the t-shirts going to be sellable? Because I know we'll be asked that.
Yes, actually, we're going to kind of do a little bit of a game. We have 500 t-shirts, and we're going to give each participant at the event a passport book. And if you get all your passports stamped by your teams, you will get a t-shirt.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
So that's at the More is Possible rally.
Yes.
You will be able to get those t-shirts.
Correct.
I mean, all kinds of events and more details will come along as we kind of continue to plan that event. So Huskers.com. Is there anywhere specific? Huskers.com.
Huskers.com/Title IX.
IX, right?
Yes, IX. All information.
I made that mistake too. So Huskers.com/Title IX. Okay.
Yeah.
And just, you look at what our women's sports did a year ago and just how great our women's athletics program is here. How important is it to have this year-long celebration where we do celebrate how far we've come to be able to have the women's athletics teams that we do have here?
Yeah, I think the 50 years puts things into perspective because not all of these teams have been competing for 50 years. So I think this gives us the opportunity to bring out some of those sports that maybe don't have as much of an opportunity for spectators to attend, to give them a platform to meet our fans and possibly attract, new fans to their sport and teach them about what they do. Because I've learned that, we've been pioneers in a lot of those smaller sports too. We were the first women's soccer program in the Big Eight, and for example, our rifle team is one of the very few all-women's rosters in a co-ed sport. So things like that people just don't know, we're excited to bring that to the forefront and, emphasize the importance of those sports as well.
That's amazing. Great stuff. And Kate, Dean, appreciate all that you do behind the scenes. I know a lot of people probably don't realize how much you have to do behind the scenes, so we appreciate it. I know you're working really hard on the Title IX stuff, and we'll have more information, but I wanted to at least give you guys a little preview of what's to come over the next year. So keep it on huskers.com/Title IX for all that information. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jess.